The thing is if they go for two and they don't get it, then they lost. They're not getting an onside kick. They lost. Okay. If they go for two and they do get it, then the Chiefs have not 3 downs and a punt. They have 4 downs.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday, presented, of course, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Long time ago now at this point. Cool temp job in my 20s. Helped me get these other gigs I have. I got a couple small businesses, myfrontpagestory.com, gobigrecruiting.com. But I got a bunch of broadcasting gigs. Still on the college side this week. On the cable side, actually, going back to Hawaii. UNLV at Hawaii. Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Looking forward to that. I'll be doing not 1, but 2 NFL games next week. I'll have Commanders-Eagles on a Thursday night for Westwood One the following week, and then an NFL game on Sunday, which I found out yesterday, but I never reveal that until CBS posts it first because I don't want to get in trouble. It's not worth it and whatever. All right, here's what I do on a Tuesday. Number 1, I give you my thoughts on last night's game, and it was an awesome Monday Night Football game between the Bucs and the Chiefs. And then I'll tell you exactly where I think every team in the NFL stacks up, 1 to 32 via my power rankings. Tuesday's also an even money betting podcast day, and Steve and I both had winning weeks again. You'll also find the College Draft podcast on the even money feed this week because Emory went 3-0 with his college football bets. So good week, good start to the week for sure. Make sure you're doing all the things you can do so I can send you some merch in the mail. I love it. Ross at rosstucker.com if you rate and review the show or take advantage of any of our sponsors. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross. The Chiefs, they got the ball first in overtime, and they didn't look back. They moved to 8-0 with 30-24 win. An interesting stat for you here via Roger Sherman. 3 road teams this week kicked game-tying extra points in the final minute instead of going for 2. All 3 lost in overtime.
Correct. So there's a lot to get to there. The first thing I would say is that the Monday Night Football recap is always presented by Labatt Blue Light, primarily because I typically have a couple Labatt Blue Lights while I'm watching the Monday Night Football game. So it says to drink with your friends and live life to the power of we. Sometimes my friend is just football, my friends. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. So let's start with that stat, Jack, because I know a lot of people wanted Todd Bowles to go for 2 late. And I can absolutely see that. And I would not have had a problem with it at all if he did that. What was there, 27 seconds left, I want to say?
It's like
and
33.
I think, was that 33? And I believe that the Chiefs had their timeouts. So I mention that because as we talk about a lot on the Even Money podcast, which, by the way, is why I encourage you guys to listen to that one, even if you're not into betting. The thing is if they go for 2 and they don't get it, then they lost. They're not getting an onside kick. They lost. Okay? If they go for 2 and they do get it, then the Chiefs have not 3 downs and a punt. They have 4 downs to get in the field goal range because they're trailing. So they have to. So it changes the math on how the Chiefs handle it at that point. And I think people lose sight of that a little bit. Now, I thought Gerard Mayo, when there was 0 seconds left on the clock, I thought he definitely should have gone for 2. Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, a little bit different. And Bucs, Todd Bowles, a little bit different. He got unfortunate with the coin toss going to the Chiefs, and then his defense not being able to stop it. It is what it is. Kind of an awesome game. I mean, the first half, I'll tell you some things that jump out to me. The Bucs O-line is good. I mean, the Bucs, Jason Light, their GM, done a nice job. They have a good offensive line, and they gave Baker some time. I mean, who are these guys? I know Sterling Shepard, and I've heard of Trey Palmer. Raheem Jarrett, he's throwing a touchdown pass to Ryan Miller. You know how good you are if you're moving the ball like Baker is and throwing touchdowns to guys I've never heard of. I mean, that is impressive. What I loved about the game, and by the way, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin out. I love that it went back and forth. The thing that jumps out to me more than anything is just how good the Chiefs are on third down. It is unbelievable, uncanny how often they convert third downs. If you didn't get a chance to watch the game, essentially, the Chiefs don't really get big plays anymore. They just get to third down, and then Mahomes throws it to Travis Kelce for a first down. Or now, DeAndre Hopkins, who made a bunch of big plays. And that was a huge takeaway from last night, which was oh my gosh, they really have another guy that is smart with great hands and that can come up clutch in these situations. It did look like late in the game, Patrick Mahomes really got hurt, but our guy, Pro Football Doc, SportsInjuryCentral.com, he was all over it. And he said right away, it's a left eversion sprain. He had it coming into the game. Not that big a deal. It's one of the reasons why I follow him. Very, very valuable. He's the first one I saw that said the bad news about Dak as well. At any rate, Todd Bowles' defense not playing as well as they need to. They could not get off the field against Mahomes. Even Spagnuolo's defense, I thought the Bucs did a pretty darn good job of moving the ball against them when they needed to. Ultimately, though, it went to overtime, and Patrick Mahomes did what? It's just unbelievable and uncanny how often he makes the clutch play at the clutch time for his team to win the game as opposed to losing. There's a margin for all these things. There's no way his percentage of success in those situations should be as high as it is. It is absolutely crazy. It's also time to dive into the power rankings. Actually, Jack, before we get to the power rankings, I want to make sure everyone knows if you're ever getting tickets for anything, it needs to be on the Game Time app. NBA is back. NHL is back. I actually have a buddy who's going to Dallas to take his son to the Cowboys-Eagles game. He asked me for tickets. Of course, I said, no, I can't get them for you, but you can go to the Game Time app. I'm looking right now. You can get into the game for $56 with all-in pricing. Now, there's more expensive seats as well, but it's awesome. I love the Game Time picks where it shows you the easiest way to save on everything. They got the lowest price guarantee, the panoramic view. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time! Hey, so this Smirnoff contest is ending soon. I've been telling you guys about it the last couple weeks. It's WeDoGameDays.com. It ends November 15th. They're giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. Tickets, sideline passes, much more. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. And 11/15/24. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Incorporated, New York, New York. Here's the deal. There's no I in football. It's a we thing. You experience it together. Good drinks, good folks. That's my friends at Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka, an official vodka partner of the NFL. WeDoGameDays.com. WeDoGameDays.com.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
We got a new team at the bottom, New Orleans Saints. They're 32.
Wow. Well, good timing because they fired their head coach, Dennis Allen, yesterday. Kind of thought that was coming, right? I mean, you just can't lose to the Panthers after you get a guy like Derek Carr back. You have to win that game. Then you have guys like Cam Jordan tweeting apologies to the fans. I mean, that's just a bad look all the way around for the Saints. They felt like they had to do something for their fan base. So they'll see if Darren Rizzi, who used to be the Rhode Island head coach, by the way, he's been their special teams coordinator for a while. He was the Rhode Island head coach. He's named interim head coach. We'll see whether or not he makes any difference whatsoever. You know, this is a good opportunity for him. He turns it around. Maybe they'll give him a shot as the full-time guy. We'll see.
Team they played this past week is Carolina Panthers. They're 31.
So that's the game I missed that I would have been calling for CBS. Now listen, it was a good game. It was an awesome game. They had like the whole country at the end because the game went late because of the injury to Olave, and it was a close game late. That's all I care about. All we care about as broadcasters. My guys, Tom McCarthy, Jay Feely, did an awesome job. I was on Air Force Army instead. So the Panthers, I am really surprised. I think Canales is just doing this to try to give them a competitive advantage this week because it makes no sense to go back to Andy Dalton at this point. None whatsoever. Bryce is showing some improvement. He won a game. Let him see if he can build on that.
New England Patriots, they're 30.
So the good news about the Patriots, we'll see if they trade anybody else today. I mean, who have they traded already, right? They've traded a couple of people, Uche and Judon. They clearly know where they're at for this year. So I'll be curious to see whether or not the Patriots make any moves. Reminder, today is NFL trade deadline day. So I'll have a lot to say tomorrow about any and all of the moves that get made today. Patriots have their quarterback. Now they got to get picks, and they got to get a roster around him.
29th, the team they played, Tennessee Titans.
And the Titans got the win, but two more bad injuries. Their center, Lloyd Cushenberry, who's a good player that they paid a lot of money for, he is done for the year. And then their safety, Quandre Diggs, he is done for the year. I love Quandre Diggs. He's been fantastic for a long time. So, you know, right after they win, now they lose two of their guys most important and integral to them actually winning these games. I'd like to see them put Levis back in there soon. Here's how I look at it, okay? These teams are bad. They're going nowhere, okay? They have first-year head coaches. They need to definitively know what they think they have in Will Levis and Bryce Young by the end of the season.
28th, Las Vegas Raiders.
They made changes too. I think those changes came right before we were done recording yesterday, right? With Luke Getsy and because I talked about it, I think, on yesterday's Ross Tucker football podcast. So Raiders, they did it now because they have a bye week, which gives them time to figure out who's going to call plays. I think it'll be Scott Turner, Norv Turner's son. Sounds like they might even hire Norv Turner. But Antonio Pierce knows that, you know, he got the job after he did a nice job as the interim head coach last year. That's not the same as like a long-term chance. I think he realizes he probably needs to turn it around to even necessarily be the Raiders coach next year.
27th, New York Giants.
So the most interesting thing there, here's the thing. You might know the stat, Jack. All of these teams we're talking about right now have 2 wins or less. They all have 2 wins or less, which I can't ever remember week 10 in the NFL, and there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is it 9? I think it's 9 teams that have 2 wins or less. That is bananas and not good for the NFL. So we get to the point now where one of these teams will go on a decent run and get back to close to 500, I think. Close to it. But I still think it's interesting to start to talk about what the fallout will be. At some point, I think the Giants will bench Daniel Jones because they won't want to take the chance that he gets injured and that they're responsible, that they're on the hook for his guaranteed salary for next year.
26 is the Cleveland Browns.
That was super disappointing. I talked about it yesterday. Really was hoping that they would be able to go ahead and, use the momentum from the win over the Ravens. They were not able to do it. And I'll call my shot right now, Jack, at whatever it is, 7:20 a.m. Eastern time. I will be shocked if the Browns don't trade Za'Darius Smith by the end of the day. Absolutely shocked.
All right, next up we got 25th, the Jags.
They're not that bad. That's probably the thing that might be the most disappointing if you're a Jags fan. They have a decent amount of talent. They're like the opposite of Mahomes and the Chiefs. They find ways to lose close games. I mean, they win that game if ETN doesn't have the ball bounce off of them, Trammell doesn't fumble the punt. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened for them to win that game against the Eagles, and yet they didn't.
24th is the New York Jets.
It's kind of crazy because they're actually the biggest upgrade this week, which I don't know what that says, but you said they moved up 4 spots, right, Jack?
That is true.
I had them really low after they lost to the Patriots. I'll get into that in a second. Here's what you need to know. My biggest upgrade this week is the New York Jets. Upgrade your bathroom, which I've already done, 2 of them, or entry door, which I've done 1. I'm doing 2 more. With West Shore Home, you can get free installation plus 18 months, no interest, no payments when you visit westshorehome.com/Ross. Love that. So here's the deal for the Jets. I'm still not convinced they're that great, but I had them really low in the power rankings after that loss to the Patriots. Now they bounced back. They beat a good Texans team on a Thursday night, so I moved them up to 4 spots. They're still low in my power rankings, but evidently the Jets are my biggest upgrade this week because they're like the best of the bad, if that makes sense.
23rd, Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, number 23. It's a shame that they lost those 2 games because if they won those 2 games, Jack, they'd be 4-4, and they would be right there in the mix. Even if they just won that home game against the Cardinals, they'd be 3-5, and they wouldn't be out of this thing. 2-6, they don't feel like they're out of it, but it kind of does feel like they're out of it. I mean, they got a lot of work to do to make up for it. And Tua's played pretty well the last 2 games, and they've still lost. That's the thing that's got to be most maddening for their fans.
A team that can slide a lot lower than this because of injuries, Cowboys, 22.
How about them Cowboys? So I mentioned earlier, Pro Football Doc, sportsinjurycentral.com. He was one of the first ones I saw that say the Dak hamstring injury was not good. There's talk of him going on IR. If there's talk of him going on IR, I would not expect him to be playing today or Sunday for the Cowboys against the Eagles. Looks like it would be Cooper Rush time. Although, you know what? Play Trey Lance. Can you play Trey Lance? But Mike McCarthy's not going to do that because he thinks Cooper Rush gives him a better chance to win, and Mike McCarthy's trying to win. So not everybody's on the same page here for the Cowboys.
21st, Indianapolis Colts.
Bad loss for the Colts. They certainly did not get what they were hoping to get out of Joe Flacco in that game. I think they'll give it another chance. I don't think Steichen wants to be seen as a guy, pulling the trigger that quickly. So I think they'll give it another chance, but I don't know if they'll give it another chance. He might go back to Anthony Richardson. I would think at least one more game with Joe Flacco.
20th is the Seahawks.
Devastating loss for the Seahawks. I mean, that would have put them 5-4 and tie with the Cardinals atop the division. And would have kind of been that would have put the Rams at 3-5. I love that we're at the time of year now where each one of these games, you can tell, makes a big difference. I love Geno Smith. I love that he kind of took total responsibility for that loss after the game. He's the man. I mean, he shouldn't have. He had some bad picks, but he didn't need to take all of it. But that's what a good quarterback does.
19th is the Bears.
The Bears, man, they got a lot of bad stuff going on. Back-to-back losses, okay? You got DJ Moore walking off the field. Now, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, it looked to me like he hurt something, right? He tweaked something. Probably not a good look, but he tweaked something during the play, and he went to go sit down. I didn't think it was that terrible. Not as terrible as some of the decisions that Eberflus and the Bears have made last couple games. That Hail Mary is going to be what crushes their season. In the division they're in, yeah, good luck, Bears.
18th is the LA Rams.
Everything I said about these teams that had devastating losses, like the Jags, like the Seahawks, like the Dolphins, it's the opposite for the Rams. That's how big that win was for them. To win that game on the road with Puka Nacua getting ejected, huge.
17th, Cincinnati Bengals.
So Joe Burrow is not impressed, and I guess I can see why not, because they had just lost to the Eagles pretty badly. That Thursday night game is huge. Bengals-Ravens. Because if the Ravens beat them to get to 7-3 and the Bengals are 4-6, man, that's an uphill climb for the Bengals. That's like it's not a must win, but it's close to a must win for Cincy on Thursday night. Love good Thursday night games. I will be on a plane to Hawaii, or maybe midway through to LA on the way for that.
Perfect team for the halfway mark, the Broncos, 16.
Why are they a perfect team for the halfway mark?
They just seem like the most average team in the NFL right now. I just feel like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I can see that. Their defense really let them down. I mean, they're not going to win any games when their defense gives up 40-some points. Let's be honest.
15th, Cardinals.
Jonathan Gannon, he's done it, man. I mean, that franchise was down in the dumps for a while. It feels like he has turned this thing around. They believe they're 5-4. I mean, how many games did they win total last year, Jack? Like 3, maybe? That sounds about right to me. So they already have 2 wins more than all of last year. By the way, I might be way off. They could have had 2. They could have had 5. I don't know. But it sounds like they had 3.
14th is the Texans.
They got to fix their pass protection. The thing is, Jack, is these are like the guys they've paid. These are like the starters, the guys they expect to have.
13th is Bucs.
The Bucs stop here. It's unfortunate, the injuries that they've had to deal with. And you wonder if it would have made a difference in some of these recent close losses they've had. The flip side is their defense needs to play better. The offense has done their part. The defense for the Bucs has to step up.
Chargers at 12.
Go, Chargers, go. Chargers are rolling. They got a good formula right now. With the defense, Herbert, run game, they're going to be in this thing.
11th is the Atlanta Falcons.
Same with the Falcons. Falcons have a good formula. They need their defense to play better, but offensively, they're legit right now.
10th, Green Bay.
I think the Packers are good. I was a little bit disappointed by them on Sunday. You know, you had that golden opportunity there. They're banged up, and I think the defense let them down a little bit too in that game.
9th is the Niners.
Coming off a bye, not much to say, although it does sound like McCaffrey is going to be playing this week, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
8th, Minnesota Vikings.
So the Minnesota Vikings, they have a great opportunity to continue to keep this thing moving. That was big. That was big Sunday night for them to win that game against the Colts. Their defense was phenomenal. It was a huge bounce back win after those other 2 losses in a row.
7th, Steelers.
Steelers are like the Niners. They had a bye, so not much to say here other than so much talk about them getting a receiver. I'll be curious to see whether or not they do.
6th, Commanders.
Boy, it feels like there's a decent amount of, I think the Vikings and above all have 6 wins or more. There's not as much in the middle as there usually is. The Commanders have a very good team. They're 7-2. They believe, and they believe primarily because they got a new head coach and they have a star quarterback.
5th, Baltimore Ravens.
So the Baltimore Ravens got back on track. Their offense is absolutely a juggernaut. And I thought their defense was better, which is what they need. The defense has been letting them down. They need to get better on that side of the ball with their first-year D coordinator, Zach Orr.
4th, Philadelphia Eagles.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. So the Eagles have now won 4 in a row. They're playing pretty well, I would say, on both sides of the ball. And now they might get a Dak-less Cowboys team.
3rd, Buffalo Bills.
The Bills, it wasn't pretty necessarily against the Dolphins, but they're up there. Like Josh Allen and the Bills are up there with the Chiefs in terms of a higher percentage than most of coming through in the clutch of these games late.
Shocker at 2, the Detroit Lions.
Why is that a shocker?
I feel like the top 3 are pretty consensus across everybody. I was kind of being sarcastic here.
That it's Chiefs 1, Lions 2, Bills 3?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty common.
I didn't really think it was that funny.
All right, thanks. I'll work on it.
Nice try, but not a shocker. The Lions are awesome. That was a huge win. Some people have them number 1. I don't know how you can do that. I mean, it's hard to put anybody above the Chiefs. They've won 14 games in a row and back-to-back Super Bowls. But obviously, the Lions have a very, very good team, and they took away a lot of people's arguments against them with that win over the Packers, right? On the road, in the weather, outside, blah, blah, blah.
Ross's number 1 team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs.
And the home of the Chiefs. They just always somehow find a way to win. It is super duper impressive. Kudos to them. They're staying there until they lose. Please check out today's Even Money podcast, tomorrow or yesterday's college draft podcast, and tomorrow I'll break down all the trade deadline moves. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out to myfrontpagestory.com. You guys know I love love. I love sending you guys signed autographs in the mail. I love you making sure loved ones in your life know how you feel about them. myfrontpagestory.com. myfrontpagestory.com. Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, BackOfficeScheduler.com.